Hello, everyone. So, we're going to talk about rental homes versus self storage and how to buy your first storage facility and why self storage will actually 10x your cash flow in 2025. So, I know there is a lot of tired landlords out there that are chasing tenants that are not only breaking your rentals, but are chasing rent checks that are trashing it. And then also, you have to go in there and fix toilets at 2 a.m., right? So I'm going to kind of show you today why smart investors are moving to self storage and how to do that to 10x your cash flow. And so one of my favorite mottos that I always talk about in my self storage school is that there is no tenants, there is no toilets, there is no employees, which equals less problems, more profit, right? So we're going to break this down. Okay. So one of the biggest myths that I get told all the time is like, do I need 10 residential doors in order to jump into self storage? Do I need more knowledge? Do I need more? And I'm going to tell you, you do not. I made one accidental rental and I went into thinking bigger and buying my first storage facility. And so you can make that jump because you guys, like self storage is simple, stupid. It is a simpler, more scalable, more cash flow business. You are purely in the business of renting space. Like it is a cinder block building with a concrete floor and a roll up door. There is no lights normally and there's no toilets. And so there is less overhead, less maintenance, and then also lower expense profiles, right? To cash flow more. So you do not have to rent out living space. You get to rent out storage space and solve problems with less headaches, more scale operations, and then more consistency with the cash flow because it has a lower expense profile of 35%, right? Versus multifamily, which is between that 50 to 58%, depending on the operator. The one biggest thing is that, like, would you rather, let's play the would you rather game. Would you rather own 10 roofs and 10 headaches to scale up, or would you rather have one smart facility doing it the right way to cash flow about the same amount, right? Would you rather? So, the two biggest mistakes new self storage investors make when they get into storage is number one, treating storage like a residential rental business, right? Normally they get into you can't just buy and pray that it will work like a residential house. You need to operate it, right? You need to operate it like a and self storage is a business and a commercial real estate asset, and you get to benefit from both of those. So, you get to upgrade your business practices and actually treat it like a business. Number two, the mistake is thinking that you have to buy close to your house or close to where you currently live. And the reality is sometimes the best deals aren't always in the market that you live in. Like I'm in Sacramento, California. It is really costly here. And I don't always love looking around my large MSA area. So I love looking out of state. I love looking at growth markets that people don't are not really looking at right now, but are where homes are being built in the near future from 1 to 5 years, right? So thinking like a smart investor is very, very important. And so we're going to kind of go into a little bit of a fun case study before we move forward with this. But I just want to talk about like having that one accidental rental, and we're going to compare the cost of that rental. That the cash flow that I got to one of my storage facilities. And so I had one accidental rental. Yes, it is in California. And it was around $400,000 was the purchase price of that facility. And you guys, yes, it cash flowed only $400 a month. Like $200 to $400 a month, is that, I would say the blessing in disguise. If no repairs, nothing happened, and you pocketed all that cash flow, right? So you're just praying every single day or every single month that you had no repairs, there is no late rent, you have no tenant headaches, and there is no service dogs that suddenly show up with $1,000 worth of damage. Oh, moving forward in that, like, would you rather buy one self storage facility that can cash flow around 4,000 plus per month in cash flow, depending on how large that facility is? And so I run the storage facility from Sacramento. It's in Louisiana. We run it completely remotely with simple systems. And then also, this really creates that time freedom. Like, I might spend maybe 3 to 5 hours a week really in the operations of that business, right? So, real cash flow, less drama is the whole goal, right? When we go into self storage. And so, this is something that I always like to kind of talk about is, making that jump. Sometimes people feel like, well, I don't know where to start, right? That's one question. Or the second question is, I don't have all this money to invest. And so we are going to go through all these different kind of mindset myths and also just mindset pieces that we need to shift from, right? And so I want to kind of talk about an acronym that I want you to, we'll kind of dive deep. I want you to remember it's really easy. It's called STORE, S.T.O.R.E. And so S stands for simple operations. Okay. So storage has simple operations, which means we have locks, we have doors, we've got gravel, we have no roofs, we have no toilets, no HVAC, right? So very simple overhead. We are in the business of storing things with, again, right? The concrete floor, a cinder block building, and a roll up door. And so the T stands for tenant risk reduction. Okay. So tenant risk reduction, which means we have no tenants living inside our storage facilities. And so this really helps us reduce that risk. Easy lockouts, simple lien options, depending on the state that you live in or that facility is in. And it's it can be an easy as a 30, 60, 90-day lockout versus you guys a 9-month like court eviction, right? For a rental that can take away your rent, your cash flow, your income, the whole goal of owning real estate, right? So T stands for tenant risk reduction. The O stands for outstanding cash flow potential. Okay. Storage has amazing cash flow potential because of two things. It has a 35% expense profile versus multifamily that is 50 to 58%, which means more cash flow in our pocket, right? And then one facility can really replace around between 8 to 10 rental door incomes, right? And so that is really important to understand is that it has more cash flow potential than residential. For R, or I guess like R stands for reduced time commitment. So that is one big thing. When I jumped into storage, I was like, I want to buy a simple, easy, stupid business that can reduce time commitment so that I can go do other things that I absolutely love, right? And so I love simple businesses. And so I really commit 3 to 5 hours a week with remote management. I hire a 1099 boots on the ground, someone who will work and do will do lock checks and then auctions and then do some ground upkeep. And so the example of this is just making it very simple so that you can build systems so that you're not the one doing all the work and being a solo entrepreneur, right? Number E, the last one stands for exponential equity growth or appreciation, forced appreciation with better operations. So if you buy a value add facility, you can actually you can take the net operating income or like the gross revenue, right, from say $10,000 gross a month to around $15,000 gross a month, and that margin is what you are growing because you are a better operator. You increase prices maybe 20% to market rates, and you did a few other things that can increase, such as adding lock fees, or you can do late fees, or buying boxes, whatever auxiliary income that you wanted to add to that. So this can literally, if you raise rent $10 per unit across 100 units, you can add $200,000 worth of value, right? And so that could be within 6 to 2 years, depending on how you do the value out of your facility.